right. So as people are still trickling in, we're going to kick this off. I'm so excited. Welcome everyone to our West Coast Mastermind for January, kicking off the 2025 year. If this is your first time on this call, or if you're not from the West Coast, this is just a monthly call that we do typically on the second Tuesday of every month. I might switch the next month. Actually, I'm thinking of bumping it earlier in February because of the open. So stand by for a notification about that. But topics rotate. Sometimes we have a special guest. Really excited about today. I got to chat a little bit with Karen Martin, who is one of the part of CrossFit Invictus down in San Diego. We've known each other for years.
Many years.
many years. But we got to chatting a lot during the summit that we held down in September. So if any of you were there, CrossFit Invictus hosted the affiliate summit. And we were chatting, among other things, about how dialed she is in her retail space, which is one of the many hats that you get to wear.
I love that.
Yeah. You and your husband wear many hats at the gym, but that's one of the ones that am I overstepping to say that that's kind of your purview?
Yep.
Okay. And then, I was running here and there, but I had multiple affiliate owners stop me and say, I got to chatting with Mama Karen, and boy, did I learn a ton about retail that I'm either not doing or doing wrong or could be doing better. And so, pretty like some of you, as you were first coming on, I was hearing Zia from CrossFit Counterculture. She was talking about how just a little quick chat with Mama Karen, and she's ended up doing way better in sales with just one of her different vendors. So I thought this would be an awesome topic for us to tackle. And just out of show of hands, I know not everyone's camera is on, but show of hands, if you currently have a retail space of your gym and you're not trying to start from scratch, you already do this to some extent. Okay, cool. And then some of you that maybe have never done it before, we're going to cover all sorts of different topics. I see a hand up in the emojis. That's awesome. But I wrote down questions that were interesting to me, and I sent them to Karen ahead of time as like, I don't know, this is some places we could go, but I would love it if you all have questions. Those could go in the chat, or you can come off of mute, and we can really let this conversation kind of go in whatever direction makes the most sense. So welcome, Karen.
Hello. I'm really happy to be here. This is obviously something that's near and dear to my heart. I managed Costco's for 25 years. So CJ thought perhaps I was talented enough to maybe come in and manage what at the time was 3 shirts that he carried in retail. So we certainly grew from that. But yes, that's my background.
Yeah.
But my love of this business, my love of what CrossFit is in the space, what it has done for our family, what it's done, it makes it so easy to want to be a part of this. So
cool. I know that's the other thing, that you're kind of like the unofficial official team mom of the
yes,
gym.
yes.
So I think one thing that might be at some point interesting to touch on is that not everyone has a Mama Karen at their disposal.
And they should.
That to me could be tough. So we'll kind of hopefully get some workarounds where how can we do this with our limited time, limited space, limited resources for things like staffing, et cetera. So someone's saying time to go recruit someone from Costco. Not a bad idea, Josh.
I love it.
So again, I don't think I wrote these in necessarily any particular order, but one thought that we don't have to spend a ton of time on, but since not everyone raised their hand saying I'm already crushing it in retail, maybe talking about a good starting point. If you were to work with someone, and I know you recently just sat down and talked with John up at University Place.
Yeah.
If someone was just to be starting off, not starting the gym, maybe the gym is established, but we don't do retail. Where does your conversation start there?
Well, I'll back up a little bit even to say this. You are so trusted by everybody that walks in that door with your health. That's a lot. That's vulnerable. And to me, who better to vet what is a good thing and a message we send to support, be it supplements, drinks, what's appropriate, what's not, then those people that already hold that trust by your members. I think we don't think that through, that when they walk in the door, they're not just here for an hour to exercise. You are creating a lifestyle and a commitment, ideally, to a lot of those members, not all of them. Some want to just come in and work out and not hear anything beyond that. But what we've always done here at Invictus is take that very seriously. And so it's our opinion, if you choose to sell something, you're authorizing, whether you know it or not, you're sending a message that says, we think this is good for you to use. So I would always say that the first thing you should do is take a look at what you have available and how is that working? And, you know, I could use examples, but I'm not going to throw out names, but there have been proteins in our space that sell like crazy. Well, they're loaded with sucralose. Who doesn't like them? They're amazing. The question is that the message you want to send to your people at your gym? So I just wanted to start kind of on the bigger picture to recognize you're the stewards of your gym and you are the stewards of their health. And we have to remind ourselves that everything they watch us do, they think, oh, well, it must be okay because my coach does it or my owner does it. So I would start with that.
No, that's true, because that's something we talk about at the level 2 with coaches. We say, like, this is everything you do is show, like, this is how you earn or discredit sort of your credibility,
That's right.
right? So if you are putting on display items that they trust you, that you're a credible source for knowledge and resources. And so make sure you're backing that up, because if it go, I mean, no one's perfect, right? Maybe the tape you supply doesn't work so good, you're going to get a new tape supplier, but like,
Right.
it
Yeah.
does earn you credibility, or can also maybe lose trust if it's not what the person is expecting. So that's a really good point.
And I think that's important. So what I would say is that, you know, we didn't grow to the level of retail that we are today overnight. It was a very slow process. And the important thing was I would look at what people carried into the gym, what they, when they opened their bags, I would be nosy. I wouldn't work through them, but I would look in them and see what are the needs of your members. And I think that's the first thing. And a gym that has 100 members and a gym that has 400 members has probably a very different profile. The demographic of your gym, where your gym is located. So, and you know, I have found in ours, age, you know, there are people that just buy everything on Amazon. And then there are people that never do. And they're the ones that are buying all my protein off my shelf and that kind of stuff. So it's important, first and foremost, assess your population. What do you think? And I would go so far, and I recommended this to a university place, do a survey. We're considering putting in retail. We think it's a great convenience for our members. And we want to make sure that we source good products for you. What are you interested in seeing? And start slow. In our world, the basics, number one basic is water, which I would assume every gym sells. And then you go from there. The next important thing I'm only going to share is my opinion. My opinion is that there are companies that invest in CrossFit, and they invest in athletes, they invest in gyms. And I think it's super important. And we have always tried to carry products that are supportive of the CrossFit space. And I'll just use an example. We were diehard Perfect Food bars. They were literally right next door to our Sorrento Valley location. We loved them. And when they sold to a very large company, they stepped out. They weren't interested in the space. And I still think their bars are amazing, and people buy them at Costco all the time, and that's great. But I felt it was important to invest in a bar that A, was one I'd recommend, and B, is supporting our space, because I think that's super important. So that's a tangent, and I'm sorry, but that's my personal opinion, is invest in those that invest in us. Okay.
Awesome.
And then the second thing I would say is beyond water. Right now, and Zia will attest to this, the number one selling item is Element in my gym, be it the dry packet or the can. And I sell over 13 to 1,600 packets a month. I have 400 members. So all of our gyms, Seattle sells about 1,000. So, and that is breaking down people that buy boxes. We break that down to 30 because the Costco in me, everything's by how you sell it. So by the individual. So to give you an idea, an individual packet of Element, depending on how much you buy and all of that, is typically about 72 cents, I think is the breakdown. And we sell them for $1.50. So the margin is amazing. Doesn't take up a lot of space, and it's easy. They buy a water, they pour it in their water, or you carry the can and they buy the can, and the can's sparkling if any of you have not tried it. So I would again assess kind of what goes. And if there, Zia, if you want to jump in here, without question, our top sellers are Water, Element, and the third one is Fairlife. Available at your local Costco, and is by far, those three items are like 300-400% higher in sales than anything else. The dollars are lower, but they are certainly the volume items.
Yeah, for me, it's Water, Element. I sell about 2,000 sticks a month. Thanks to you. I was at like 1,500 a month, but now I'm selling way more. So it's Element, Water, and then I actually sell a ton of Fit Aid is my number 3. Again, low dollar items, and then close, like bigger items is like the Bubs collagen and protein.
So to go backwards a little bit, to say to each of you, again, if you have retail, just step back and look at what it is, what message you're sending in selling it, and how can you sell it. If we want to step out even further, we are in a relationship with Momentous. We did a lot of due diligence on their product. We think it's super important to have a clean protein and clean supplements, and we think they are awesome. But we also do an educational piece in our newsletter every month about, like, for example, our last one was creatine. Why creatine? Why is creatine good for a 50-year-old female? Because we may not know that why. So Momentous has these amazing flashcards that you can download and put right into your newsletters. It's the why, and it's not them necessarily selling Momentous as much as it's creating great information for those of us, obviously, that need that information. And then what you're carrying, of course, is Momentous. So I strongly suggest utilizing your vendors' knowledge to make sure that you're sharing that with your members. I think you'll find that that gives you credibility and information they can bank on.
I think that's huge. And I think it also keeps putting the products in the front of their mind. I know Element puts out gosh, I feel like I get their newsletters all the time. Is it weekly?
I think so.
A lot of informative articles about hydration and dispelling myths about all the like. So you can pull things from there, and a lot of brands like Momentous are happy to work with you as the owner. And if you're like, I'm getting a lot of questions about this, they could be like, oh, here's some resources if it wasn't right there available already.
And typically, whether you have a front desk crew or not, even coaches, they're not as deeply knowledgeable in general as obviously the scientists from Momentous who provide all that information. Momentous actually, when we launched their product, came out and did a training with all of our coaches so that our coaches understood the why. And most of them had a basic sense, but they got to understand why Momentous. So that, again, ask your vendors for support, not just free product, not just come hand out stuff. Resources super important to building your credibility.
That's awesome. Ferdinand had asked about the water. What kind of water bottles do you sell? Do you guys also do like a fill your own dispenser in the gym?
We have a fill your own dispenser. Yes, we like that because, obviously the water bottles, ultimately it's recycling and all of the stuff that goes with that. We do sell water bottles because unfortunately a lot of people forget theirs. But we do have refill stations at the gym as well. So those are both options. Our refills stations, we have 2 in our large gym and they're, it's plenty, but I still sell a ton of water.
What brand of water do you guys sell? Is it just like Costco?
It's Costco. It's the Kirkland Signature. It's the best margin, and it's great. It's great product. So I think it's Crystal Geyser on the West Coast is what we carry.
Awesome. So I'm loving where you're going. I don't want to derail you. Kind of talking about asking your vendors for support, looking at what your community needs. It's time to, you got your survey back. It's time to pull the trigger. Any recommendations on, you said start small. Do you want to
Yes.
get into the specifics about that? I've got my water maybe that I buy at Costco. And, what else do you think would be a great place to start?
Depending on where your gym is, we sell a lot of coconut water here. Costco carries an organic coconut water in 2 sizes. So when I do my Costco shopping, a case of the liters, which is what I buy, not the small bottles, because I think you also send a message when you sell those little bottles that they know you're paying 30 cents for and you're selling them for $1 or $2 or whatever. I don't want to send that message. And so we buy the liters, we sell them for $1. Our margin is only 30 cents. But for us, it was about the message that they can trust us, that we're not trying to make a lot of money like a movie theater or a theme park. So water and then the coconut water, typically my margin on food product averages about 40%. So my markup isn't full. And a lot of the reasons that I do that is, again, making it affordable and not looking like we're, marking things up crazy. It is convenience based. And so they're going to pay more, just like you do when you walk into 7-Eleven versus the grocery store. So you deserve to make good money on it. But you also want to be careful that you don't send the message that you're just trying to, gouge them. So water, for us, coconut water at Costco, Fairlife. And Fairlife we sell our Fairlife for $3.50. And you walk into a 7-Eleven and you're paying $4.50 typically for a Fairlife. So Fairlife is a great product. They sell them in a case of, I want to say it's 15 or 18. I think it's 18. So again, grab 1 case and see how it goes. The gyms that I've suggested Fairlife to have done phenomenal with it. So I would try that potentially. It's loaded with protein, so it's a great option as a pre or post workout. So small Element. When you order Element, your first time, you have to buy 12 boxes, which is not horrible. Avoid any of the specialty stuff. Stay really with like raspberry, orange, watermelon. You don't want to do
and
grapefruit. Yeah. So there's like spicy ones and there's plain. Those don't sell. There's a small handful of people that like those, but Zia, I would assume you have the same experience.
I don't sell the plain or the mango chili very much. Honestly, which one?
Chocolate.
Chocolate.
No. Yeah, same. We don't sell those either.
Yeah. Jen Ryan actually tried to convince me to get them. She's like, I mix the spicy and the chocolate. I'm like, ew.
Yeah, she does.
She does.
Yeah. So if you're, you buy 12 of those, one of the things that, again, Element's awesome at, and I'll tell you how I got started, as I didn't know anything about the product a couple of years ago. CJ's good friends with Rob Wolf, and they said, oh, here, we'll send you some samples, just hand them out. Well, we made a decision not to hand them out. When you give people free items, there's no investment. So what we did do was sell them for $1. They were gone in 15 minutes. They were much more educated on Element than I was. And so we thought, oh, well, this is going to work. reach out, ask for samples. They will give you samples. And that way you can put them out and see how your membership reacts to the product. I've had that experience with all of the people we deal with, NOCO, Bear Bells. They'll give you free product to try. So, and then you have kind of a resource to see, okay, yep, I think this is going to work or no. So I would really recommend, and I'm happy at some point to provide Katie the contacts and all of that stuff so that you can reach out to those people.
That'd be great. Yeah, I can get with you for a follow-up email. That maybe everyone else already realized that was way obvious, but to me, when you're like, ask for free samples, but don't give them away for free. Get the free samples and sell them, and then that's your indication right there. My thought was like, oh, get the free samples, I'll give them to people, see if they like them. And then it's like, oh, wait, but now they're never going to buy it because
That's right. Well, and there's no investment. They'll just, oh,
Yeah.
it's free on the counter. I'm just going to grab it. There's
Yeah.
absolutely no investment. So yeah, it's great when the reps, after you carry the product, the reps will come in and like if there's a new flavor or whatever, and they'll hand out stuff, that's great. But secure the commitment from your members.
That's really good.
So I would say if you're going to start small, that those items to me are your quick items.
Yeah.
I'm assuming most gyms don't have a person at the desk. Is that a fair statement?
I would think so. Yes. I'm seeing a lot of head nods.
How many people? Yeah, okay. And I'm going to give you the argument for just because. Now, again, it's relative to the size of your gym. What I always suggest is it's more than just retail. When I went up to University Place, the place in Tacoma, there is no entrance to a desk or a greeting. And I was about to meet with the owners. A woman walked in, she had no idea where to go, and just stood there like looking, and I could see her. They could not, their backs were to her. And so I actually said to them, oh, do you have someone to meet with her? One of them had to get up and go meet with her, and she was a potential new member, which to us is a very important interaction. So right or wrong, I get it. There are gyms that's not going to work for, and there are gyms that could potentially try to make it work. And my recommendation is that the person at the desk becomes a neutral party to a person that walks in the door or a member that walks up that wants to buy something that's not the owner, it's not the coach. Most gyms that do have them, it's like a trade deal. It might be a young college student. Our Boston location, that's who they use. And they only have them there during peak time. And sales show it. You have a person back there that's available. Now, if a clipboard works and your members are filling them out and you're keying that stuff in and that works for you, I'm not trying to twist your arm. I just will tell you that there are greater benefits than whether you sell more water or not. It's the benefit of someone behind there that knows the answers, whether it's membership, whether it's what time a class is, that kind of stuff. So I simply throw that out there with complete respect for each of you and your gyms as to what works. It might be worth a try, is all I would suggest. Maybe give it a try. Find a young person that maybe wants to offset membership. Just to give you an idea, our backup people for our desk, if someone calls in sick, what we do is if they work 4 hours, we put $15 an hour credit on their membership. So for whatever that's worth, there is a workaround if that's something you're interested in. So
that's a really good point. I definitely included like, what do you do when you don't have this staffed? So it's important to touch on, even if, again, not everyone can make a 180, and change everything tomorrow, but it's good to start thinking out.
And put education out. So if a person walks up, there's nobody at the desk, Element has like this amazing information that you could put up. You put that up in a laminate and with the product there. If you just set a box of product there and don't provide info, you're really not going to engage, in my opinion. Especially if you're going to bring in new product. So I would encourage you, if that is the way it's necessary to run yours, just provide good information to your potential buyers.
That's great. How do you determine whether to add a product or start working with a new company? What do you do more surveys, or now you kind of have a pulse on your community, so you're more so just investigating companies? I imagine that people reach out to you
They do.
about carrying their product.
We're obviously very lucky that we get people that reach out to us, but there is a lot of garbage product out there, just being honest. There's some amazing product out there. And the very first thing I do if somebody reaches out to me, and I go in and do due diligence, figure out who they are, what they stand for, all that good stuff. Ask for samples. And I have Jen Ryan, who is our nutrition expert. So I'm assuming a lot of gyms have someone that maybe is a good nutrition, or you yourself as owners. We do, we run it by Jen. If it's not Jen approved, it's probably never going to show up at the gym. For us, we trust her. She is somebody that really understands it. So first and foremost, we do that. A lot of businesses, and you guys probably have been in this business a long time, they come and go. And they're in for a short time, they overcommit, and they have to go away. So my tendency is to stick with a bigger brand that I know I'm going to get support from, and I know is going to be here in a year. But that's not to say I haven't tested products. I'll just give you a quick, real fun story. If you're familiar with Hyperice, their hot, cold knee unit that they use, 2 kids from Stanford University came to our gym 7 years ago, showed us the product. CJ was like, this is brilliant. Worked with them, helped them. We got a prototype. Hyperice bought their product. So it was a good investment on our part we saw a product that CrossFit would love and athletes would love. So we don't ever just say no. It's not necessarily something we would sell. So understand that, yet again, people look at you as experts, and you may be surprised what happens with that interaction.
You guys don't have a vending machine, but Ferdinand was asking if you had an opinion about that self-service kind of vending machine option. I know some gyms do have that.
I think it works for people. I know we had a member who actually started one of those companies, and because of our commitment to having someone behind the desk, it wasn't necessary for us. But one, I'm maybe 25 years at Costco, but code dates are critical. So if there's anything perishable in there, I would get nervous. If it's cans, if it's that kind of stuff, and it can dispense a variety of things, if that works for you, I think that's fantastic. I don't know what they charge for those machines. I don't know what their commission is. I don't know what minimum wage is at your place, but if you paid a minimum wage person behind the desk, it may be the same. So it's a look at it. Is it worth it to do that? Or could you use that margin to actually have somebody behind the desk? Just a thought.
And Ferdinand, I know of 2 that just come to mind offhand in our region that use vending. So if you ever want to chat with them, there's one in Northern California, not too far from me, just kind of North Bay area. And then Bryant out at CrossFit Oahu in Hawaii. So if you're curious, let me know. I can have you chat with them about their margins. I feel like sometimes Bryant does it just because he made his look like a tiki thing and it's fun. And he's kind of all about the fun factor and the look of it. So I don't know. He might even be like, I actually think they staff a front desk person and do a ton of retail. Because
wow.
Hawaii, a lot of Hawaii gyms, I think, do. Kapua, you could probably speak to that, do a lot of retail with tourism and stuff. But I think he does the vending because of the fun of it, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, just look at the breakdown. Look at what you're losing and ask yourself, what could that buy you? And if it's easy, great. No, again, no judgment on that. I think if that works for you, it's awesome.
Ferdinand was asking who's Jen Ryan.
I'll share. Jen Ryan actually was on our teams, and then became a master's athlete, and has been very successful as a competitor. She is a emergency room nurse, and trained in nutrition. So we are blessed to have her here. She runs a nutrition business and provides counseling to people all over the world. So we're just blessed to have her in-house.
You guys have some seriously strong relationships with partners. When we came down to do the summit, CrossFit has their own partners and relationships there, and products were sent to distribute to affiliate owners and their guests at the summit. But Invictus themselves had received so much product for this event. I'm guessing merely from you reaching out and just saying, hey, we're throwing an event, we're gonna have a bunch of affiliate owners, and just I feel like you had more product brought in than CrossFit did for this event. It was,
Yeah.
she had the snack table stacked. She had a bunch of she had items to give away from Yeti and all of the such for sort of prizes. And so clearly you've built strong relationships. I know a part of that is likely because you also have there's a strong competitive side. But as you know, if we kind of look almost outside of that, because most affiliates don't push as much on the competitive side, how do you build those relationships?
Well, interesting that you say that. Just for a background, like I'm going to use Yeti. You mentioned Yeti. Yeti could care less if we have athletes. This is what I love about Yeti. They could care less, and they'll tell you that straight up. What they care about is integrity in this business. And so I work with them. I'm as giving to them if they need information as they are to us. So vendors are not just people you, especially in the CrossFit scene, they're not just people that you order product from. They're relationship building. And I will say to you, I have an amazing relationship with Yeti, and because I love their product, I went to a place in Portland. That location in Portland just ordered like 10,000 Yeti Ramblers for their big annual meeting. So it's about giving and taking and recognizing that's who they are. Mush is another, if any of you are not familiar with Mush, Mush is the protein oats or the overnight oats. Those were members. They built their business in our gym. They were at Zia's gym. They would literally hand out samples. I got them set up at the Mercado. They go on the whatever tank, Shark Tank, and now they have a bazillion customers. But we invested in them. So it's about investment is what I would say. Don't treat that vendor relationship like, hey, I'm buying from you and you're lucky I'm buying from you. Hey, I'm buying from you because I believe in your product. Let's work together. And I'm going to throw out the companies just so it's important that you know that we've built those relationships with. Mush is one of them. Momentous has been just an equal partner in giving as they are, in taking our orders. Element, absolutely, hands down, just willing to do. I'm involved in Masters Fitness Collective or Championship now. I ran that event last year. My God, the amount of product that was sent for them. I didn't buy it. I didn't ask for it. They knew I was involved and sent it. So again, it's about building that network to help them grow their business while also, growing your own. So I would say that, maybe you do or don't know, but we recently did a scholarship through NOCO that they are paying an athlete $1,000 that won the scholarship to move to San Diego to train with us through the season. And so it wasn't just, hey, I want to buy your product. Hey, I want a sponsorship. How can we venture into this? And it doesn't have to be a 400 member gym to do stuff like that. They're interested in investing in people and in good businesses that operate with the same ethos that they do as a company. So I will say that is big. And if all they are is an order portal, you've not reached the possibilities with these companies that I think you could.
I think that's great. How do you keep things organized with inventory?
Okay.
I've been in the back room and it's a little bit of madness, but it's pretty organized.
Yes,
I mean,
yes,
it's floor to ceiling
yes.
stuff and
It's
bins.
all in bins.
And you're like, that's right here. And this was during the most chaotic of times when there was, what did we have, 100 people or so coming in, and all of the CrossFit people setting things up, and we had shipped a bunch, and you were like, yeah, so how do you do that? It's
Well,
also with limited space.
yes. Yeah. I mean, no CrossFit, very few CrossFit gyms have places to just store things.
Yeah.
So one, we need to stack high because you got to use all the space, but I use bins. Yes, I buy them at Costco. And I have inventory cards, and it says exactly what's in the bin. So that if at the person that's working at the front desk, somebody comes in and say, oh, I love that Nike crew neck in a large in alligator green, and there aren't any in the cubby, they know exactly where to go to find it, open up the bin, take it out, mark it that they took it out. So those are all things you have to stay organized. Depending on what systems you guys are using, we have inventory. So Push Press has an amazing inventory system where it actually downgrades your inventory as you sell things. So whether your inventory is small or your inventory is large, it's a nice way to know. If you aren't in the gym all the time to see what you need or what you don't need, you can check your inventory. You're also going to know if you are losing product, if your inventory is off. So I recommend you looking at your systems that you're using and see if they have the capability for that. If you're starting off small, you can do that manually. I did it manually for years. I do counts every month because I carry about, don't get scared, about $100,000 in inventory. But I also provide stuff to all our other licensed gyms. So just for clarity. So I have to have a very specific system, but you can do it manually, or you can, but be clear that their product has value and treat it as such, so that people don't say, oh, they'll never notice if I just grab a couple. I don't think people steal at our gym. I really don't. I just think people don't have as much respect maybe for the system. So for whatever that's worth.
No, that's great. And I think what you said earlier on, which is start small, can probably help with this process of staying
Yes.
organized.
Yep, absolutely.
We didn't talk a ton about clothing. I don't know if that's something people want to get into. Yes. I've heard differing things on the margins of that. I know a lot of gyms will do pre-orders. I know some will use a site that does all the distribution for them, so they don't have to. And Zia, I know you guys do a ton of clothes, and then Karen, I know you guys do as well. So if anyone has specific questions about that, of course, you can come off mute or throw it in the chat, but maybe touch a little bit on that, because that's definitely a different beast. You don't need to necessarily have the same kind of credibility, right? You got to find what your gym wants.
Yes.
I'm sure seasonally, and things like that, but.
Well, I think that, and I can even use within the Invictus system. So number one, I gear to 300 to 400 visitors a month. So somebody flies in from the UK, they're at a conference in downtown San Diego, they're going to come in and drop $300 on retail. So I have to, the international people, if you carry Nike, as they call it, we call it Nike, but they'll drop and they only buy Nike. It's an interesting thing. But so you have a member population you have to pay attention to. And if you're a gym location that gets visitors, recognize what they want. And the example I'm going to use, we're a 16-year-old gym. You can just only own how many Invictus green shirts that just have Invictus across the chest, right? Like, sorry. So we have to be creative with our member base. Many of them just want the V. They don't need to be screaming Invictus across their chest because they're a member here. Yeah. So again, it's relative. To our visitors, Lord, Invictus, the bigger it can be. So it's important to look at that. I love the pre-order concept. I really do. And it works really well for a lot of gyms. Because I provide clothing to all of our other 5 locations, I don't do that because I need to cushion all my orders anyway. So it's not necessary. What I will tell you is Seattle is different, our Invictus Seattle. What they do super well with is event shirts. So they did a big parade and a float in the 4th of July parade. They made the coolest Invictus 4th of July shirts and probably could have sold 100 more. So where for me, event things don't do as well, and then it dates the shirt and then you're stuck with it. And what do you do with it? So again, you guys know your base better than anyone. Are they those people? I get in a lot of Nike blanks, and I'll reach out to people that I know and say, hey, I have all these Nike blanks. I'm happy to sell them to you, or I'm just going to throw Invictus on it and, you know, stock them myself. So I'm blessed to do that. We've started working with LSKD. Nike's kind of pulling out, not so active in the CrossFit space. So we want to support a business. LSKD, incredible to work with. They'll work with you. They'll send you 5 of something. So that special order works brilliantly with those kinds of companies. And it's a higher price point, and not everyone can pay that. Could I get just maybe if you could tell me how many people sell a t-shirt for $25?
Hands up, guys. 25 average. Yeah, looks like a few. Yeah.
Okay, how many people sell them for $30?
Few more. Okay. 30 in the one more in the chat. One says 35 in the chat.
Okay. So the reason I'm bringing this up is that pre-COVID, most of our margins on a Next Level or a Bella shirt should have been somewhere around, you were paying around $12.50 embellished, and you were selling it for $25. Well, that is not the case anymore. COVID drove print prices up. It drove clothing prices up. So your margins on those t-shirts, now the average price in is way higher than it was. So you're not making that much. So look at your member base. Should you jack it up to 30? True honesty, I have not done it yet. I just love that $25 price point, but probably something each of you should look at. Because the margin is nothing like it was prior to COVID.
All right.
I will say, Karen, being really close to you in the same kind of market, when I made my switch from 25 to 30, I didn't notice much of a difference.
Oh, good to hear.
Especially because you're Invictus, I think people are still going to buy your shirts. But I recently, last year, made that change and I was nervous about it. But I actually thought of you and I was like, what would Karen do? She would do it. So I did it based on that. So I think us being so close and our clientele are very similar, I think that you'll be okay.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think it's definitely time. We were like, oh, we'll wait till 2025. And so it's definitely something that I will do because frankly, the margins are terrible. I mean, I think we have a relationship with a print shop that we don't pay an upcharge for the product, which is unusual. And that's because we built this print shop together and we are who helped them launch as a print shop. So I don't pay an up fee. But what I used to spend $5.95 for a women's tank, we're now paying like $8.50. So it's significant, the increase. And then your embellishment has gone up about $1 because ink prices. So again, look at that. What I know is the more you print, the less you pay per print. But how many of you can house 100 shirts?
Yeah.
Right? And most print shops, if they're good print shops, you can do, as long as your print's the same, do 25 men's shirt in black, 25 men's shirt in gray, 25 tanks. As long as your total number and it's the same, your print shops should honor that as a total number if they do not have to change the screen. So negotiate, work with your print shops to make sure they're doing the work.
That's good. We can stay on clothing. What about other swag, sweatshirt, pant, water bottle, patches, stickers? Someone said small item question. What company do you guys use for stickers? So maybe those are kind of a common question.
Yeah, absolutely. We used to use Sticker Mule. It got political and nasty, and I decided I don't want to have anything to do with them. I use a brand called Sticker Giant. They're actually a better value, and they're awesome. They'll do, like I do a die cut, And they sent me a sample. They are awesome. So I would encourage you to go to Sticker Giant. I sell socks and wristbands. I use a company called Big, sorry, I'll have to send that to you. I think it's called gosh, Big Socks. It's out of Montana. Awesome company, very reasonable to work with. I carry junk headbands. I sell a lot of junk headbands. I work with them directly. I'll call and say, hey, we need some new designs. And they literally for free send you all these new designs, and you run it by your people and they say, oh, we love this and this. And then you order 30 at a time. So again, companies like that for little things, you can go overboard on the little things and end up tying up a lot of retail dollars, because to get a good value in those things, you have to order a lot. So that's important to look at. Blender bottles. I sell a lot of blender bottles. I don't know about you guys, but our lost and found, probably on a monthly basis, we throw 50 away and they just buy new ones. So blender bottles is a really good basic item. Again, I'll provide you the info that where I get them. I buy them from a company that is a little bit cheaper than some of the other name brands, and I do really well with them.
Perfect.
That
Yeah,
kind of
I'll
stuff.
get all that info in the email, so no worries about questions about that right now.
Okay.
Sort of on topic, sort of off topic, is there any product to totally stay away from, or is that totally an individualized thing? Or would you be like, just don't sell something?
Oh man, we've learned the hard way. Oh God, there's so many things we brought in. And what I would say is, for us, we have to stay, I don't like that word necessarily, but I'm going to say mainstream. The minute you start like getting crazy clothing or little items that are like the average person's not going to use, those end up being giveaways, because you're not going to. So what I would say is, test your members. I have a group of people that, because I'm 65 years old, I'm not the right person to be recommending what a 30-year-old member likes. And I recognize that that's who I am. So I will get samples and literally go to this group of members and say, yay or nay, what would you do with this? Would you buy this? Would you buy it if it was this much money? So but our Invictus Boston refers to that group as the cool kids that they use. They say, oh, well, the cool kids want to order this. And half the times it's stuff that I would have said absolutely no. So that's the lesson, that sometimes we buy what appeals to us, and that may well be a problem. So identify people in your gym that are looked at as leaders, or people that, oh, if she buys it, I'll buy it.
Yes.
Utilize that resource. Get a sample. If a clothing company or an item that you want to buy won't send you a sample, run. If they're not interested in you being successful, and I think in many cases you need to do that. So that's what I would recommend.
That's awesome. Jason was asking, how do you track how well you're doing with retail overall? Do you look at a number like your retail per member per month?
I don't, and the only reason, that is a good idea, by the way, because of I'm so skewed with non-member drop-ins. So again, I've got this heavy amount, but I think that's actually a really smart thing to look at. However, what I look at is, I have a P&L. At the end of the month, I know, what I sold, I know what my margin was, and I know, what my dollars are. Retail is always a great number for us. But again, we're blessed with all these visitors. So understand that. But yes, I think it is important. I think it's important that you're tracking, okay, well, what is Element making me in a month? Like, is it worth it? And you can just take that item, and most of you probably have POS systems that will allow you a report. Look at, okay, this is how much I paid for and all of mine's in a document. This is what I paid for it. This is what I sold. This is my margin. So yes, absolutely. I encourage you to do that. And you can do it on paper if you're old school. It doesn't have to be a fancy system, but invest in that knowledge, because guess what? If you realize that's your winner, promote the heck out of your winner, because that's going to do nothing but grow.
Karen, do you have a hard stop at 12?
No, I'm good.
If anyone does, you just remember you're going to get the recording, so no stress. Leave your questions in the chat and we'll get to them. I'd like to keep going if anyone else would like to stay as well. I won't keep you too long, but I was hoping you could kind of touch on little tricks that I know you talked about with Craig Howard. I know you talked about with Zia. The only one that comes to mind, and Zia, maybe you have other ones that you guys talked about with, was specific to the element packets. And I don't know if you actually talked about this, but Zia, correct me if I'm wrong, was one of the things that helped you kind of push that sale, was one of the tricks that Karen talked to you about the packets, right?
Yeah, I mean, I was already selling a ton of them and I thought I was killing it. And then when I went to the summit and Karen was like, no, 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 this is what you got to do. And then like told me about the multi-pack thing. And now I'm selling even more of them.
So to be clear, what we allow our members to do, or any buyer, is we have the individual packets in the element provided stand, and we have empty boxes. So they can buy, if they have 2 flavors, they can buy 15 of each and put it in the box. My sales, when I did that, literally went up 900%. I mean, during the summer, before the cans, I was
900%. Sorry.
900%. Before the cans came during the summer, I was selling 3,500 packets a month. Now that we sell the can, we've lost some of those sales and we're about 2,000. We did like 2,200 last month, but it's 90% of mine is multi-pack box. They don't want to buy one flavor. Now, let me tell you the strategy of that for Element. What works for Element, and the reason they don't do that, is you, the consumer, now buy a box of the 3 flavors you like. That works for the wholesaler. But in a gym environment, for a person that's able to buy the box, but put 3 different flavors in it, that value is so much higher to them. So I recommend that option. Some people are just one flavor and that's all they care about. But
I couldn't believe the difference it made. I will say though, unless you're selling already a ton of Element, that stand that Karen and I have, they don't just give that to anyone. So you either have to ask for it and buy it, or order enough to where they'll send it to you for free. But Element's one of those companies that if you ask for it and you're like, I can sell this, can I please have the stand? They're going to send it to you.
yeah. And please, if you need to email me and I can advocate for you, I'm happy to do that. It's my understanding they're making a counter one that's not as big as the one.
Yeah, it's like this
that,
big.
Yeah, that very well could work in the beginning for people. But feel free. I will share my email with everybody, and you can, Katie, you can put it in the email or whatever, but I'm happy to answer any questions or make introductions to people to do that.
Some of the other tricks sound like as simple as like have something that they're going to consume as soon as the class is over.
That's right.
Like protein, they don't even need a shaker bottle because it's already ready to go protein, right? The Element and the water, they're going to mix it right there on the spot. The mush is either a packet or a little cup. You guys also sell those little peanut butter and jelly. It's like a quick energy. So like it sounds like not just the case of powder that you're going to start supplementing with, but really getting those, what am I going to consume right after I'm done with my workout?
And we do really well with individual packets, specifically in the protein and creatine, by the way. Momentous does those obviously in individuals, as does Ascent. Don't think Thorne does, but those are brands that we've had in and out. But a recommendation are those, because before you're going to spend $60 on a bag of protein, you kind of want to give it a try. So the individual packets, also for us, for people that are traveling that forget to bring it, it's an option. What we find with Mush and Fairlife, it's so easy. They get to the gym and they haven't eaten. They know they shouldn't be working out without, they'll grab a Mush or they'll grab a Fairlife. Same post-workout. That I call that the grab and go theory. And look at what those items are. I also, and you guys are, this is West Coast, but I work with Fieros. I think Zia, you do as well. I do grab and go meals. So not people having subscriptions, actually
a local kitchen that they cook meals. Yeah.
Correct. So I'll have in my fridge every Sunday, I get a delivery of 25 to 30, depending on what I think the week looks like. and people can grab those meals. They don't have to make arrangements in advance. I was tentative to do this because that's all on me, right? Well, the first person that I started doing it with, I said they had to give me a guaranteed sale, and they did. So if at the end of the week I had 5 left, I didn't pay for those until I could establish a good amount so that I wasn't throwing it away. And don't be afraid to ask those people to work with your reality. Your reality is, I don't know if I can sell 10 or 30.
Right.
So are you willing to play with me for a bit? And then we'll move forward. So those are the tricks I would say, is that we are also tentative, I think, to ask. And don't be afraid to ask. It's, you know, they want to be successful with you. You want to be successful with them. So definitely ask those questions. So I have a grab and go fridge that's actually not behind the counter. It's actually where members can grab, because we want it that way. I do keep all my drinks in the back, only because of the volume that we sell. I have a big fridge, but those grab and go items, they see them, they walk by it all the time. So they work. Mush, I've sold mush forever, and I do really well still with them. Figure out your flavors. Mush came out with a pack. Runners absolutely love them, with High Rocks taking off the way it is. You got High Rocks classes in your gyms. Those are great packets. Look at those, get samples, ask them for free samples. And by the way, they just came out with a bar. So ask for samples, because you can.
Amazing. What are we missing, guys? What other questions do we have? We're going to get all the contact info and all that followed up. Thank you. Super helpful. I agree. Super helpful and interesting. If anything else comes up, guys, if you think about it later, you can shoot that over to me, and like I said, I'll follow up and get you guys Karen's info. Karen, thank you so much. I love
it was so fun. I'm glad I could share.
Yes, I love it. I feel like we're gonna have to do another one of these in another several months for everyone that missed it.
We can do it. I'm happy to help.
All right, I'll reach out to you and get some of that contact info. Thank you all. We'll see you guys next month.
Bye.
Bye. Good job, guys. Karen.